Would like to present the next Hall of Fame designation to an outstanding coach, Arthur Perkins, Watertown High School class of 1932, track. Dynasty is synonymous with Watertown High School track in the 50s. Those who remember the 40s and 50s might remember all of the state championship teams and all of the extraordinary athletes that participated. Between 1947 and 1958, Watertown High School was unbeatable, cross-country and indoor track and an outdoor track. Two of those teams have been inducted in their entirety, the 55-56 squad this season, along with a number of the individual stars, Coach Bob Gleason. But as Coach Gleason always said, the foundation of the track success was set by Coach Arthur Perkins. Gleason served as an assistant under Coach Perkins when the Red Raiders won an astounding 9 state titles in 3 years. Between 1947 and 1950, they won everything there was to win in track. They won it in cross-country, they won it in indoor, they won it in outdoor. They won the Class B state championship in all 3 sports in all 3 years. Coach Perkins was a keen judge of talent, but he also knew how to nurture talent. He exerted great talent, a great influence on his athletes, both on and off the field. He was as impressed with his skills to influence trackmen, no more than he was impressed with his skills to influence young artists. And it was as an art teacher and as a skilled art teacher and administrator that he also made his mark in the Watertown school system. He was a brilliant administrator and teacher and a brilliant coach. A BA in Fine Arts from Syracuse, where he was a nationally ranked high jumper. He went on to Harvard, where he earned a master's degree in art history and in American history. He had a master's in fine arts from the Sorbonne in Paris. He was an intelligence officer in the United States Army in 1941 and all through the war. And he was the first American to receive the French War Cross, the La Croix de Guerre, from General Charles de Gaulle and the French government. After the war, he returned to his hometown of Watertown and became Director of Arts in the Watertown schools, where he remained in that capacity for 30 years until retiring in 1972. And I think as impressed as you would be with his extraordinary skill as a track coach and 9 state championships in 3 years, you would also be impressed that he developed in someone like Larry Caffarello, who was a Hall of Fame shot putter and an all-state athlete, an interest in becoming an artist. When after 3 years and 9 state championships, he saw no further worlds to conquer, he turned the reins over to Coach Gleason. The great Watertown High School track dynasty would continue unabated. It, after all, had had a great beginning under a great teacher. Ando Dedigian, who was an outstanding runner at Watertown High and Cornell, will honor Arthur Perkins by receiving his Hall of Fame plaque. Ando?
3 weeks ago, I was at the meeting of the American Medical Athletic Association, and a colleague of mine asked me if that wasn't my favorite meeting. Well, I surprised him when I said that up until 3 years ago, it was my favorite meeting, but now the meeting that I look forward to going to every year is my old high school's Hall of Fame. Knew Coach Perkins firsthand. Just complacently sat back and thought that with his surreal record, that he would be one of the first inducted. But life takes strange twists and turns, and God does work in mysterious ways. Because as it has turned out, Coach Perkins could not have been picked at a more propitious time in his life than this year. And for that, we, the fans of Coach Perkins, will be forever indebted to the present committee for having selected him to get in the year 2001. Special thanks to John Giglio, who made the presentation to the committee. After the committee voted him in, Nick Avages, who was always an advocate of Coach Perkins, phoned me and told me of the coach's election. I immediately phoned him at his handicapped, assisted residence in Florida. I have been keeping in touch with him annually for 51 years. But on this occasion, when I detected the timbre of his voice, you didn't have to be a physician to know that his health had failed. And when I asked him, "Coach, how you doing?" he said, "I'm not doing very well. I have 4 nurses that have to see me around the clock, and my memory isn't what it used to be." So we chatted on, and then I said, "Coach, I have a surprise for you." He said, "What may that be?" I said, "You've just been elected to the Watertown High School Athletic Hall of Fame." Well, you would have thought that I had given him an injection of adrenaline, because his voice gathered strength, and he was obviously elated, and he said, "What a wonderful surprise." Now, I felt like saying, why in the world are you surprised? During your first year as a coach in 1947, when you organized the first cross-country team in the school's history, you went on and surprised everybody by winning the league championship. And this infant team then astonished everybody by winning the state championship. In your first indoor track team, you won another state championship. And your first outdoor track team, you repeated this, and you repeated this for 3 more years. Now, why in the world should you be surprised that you're in the Hall of Fame? I told him that you have resuscitated a moribund track program and turned it into a state powerhouse. And it would be wonderful, even though I knew what his answer was going to be. I said, "It would be wonderful if you could come up here and pick up your award. We'll round up all your former athletes, and it'll be a great time for all." He says, "I can't do it." Would it be an imposition to ask you to represent me? Imposition, I consider it as great an honor to represent Coach Arthur Perkins as when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame. I think the stature of every athlete in the Hall of Fame has now been elevated now that they're in the company of Coach Arthur Perkins. I could tell you deeds that Coach Arthur Perkins has done for his athletes. If there was a Hall of Fame for coaches whose entry required intelligence, integrity, and that innate ability to detect an athlete's potential and see that it blossomed to full flower, then Coach Perkins would be a shoo-in. But he was more than that. He devoted his time to his athletes, both on and off the field. And there are athletes here tonight, Larry Caffarello was mentioned, whose life was seriously affected because of Coach's devotion to them. Now, I stand before you as one of these athletes. I can tell you that I would have never gone out for the track team were it not for Coach Perkins. I can tell you that I would have never gone to prep school were it not for Coach Perkins. And the domino effect that followed at college and medicals, etc., was because of Coach Perkins. He changed my life, and he has changed the lives of many athletes. And I can cite chapter and verse right now of all the deeds that he has accomplished, and I would break Jocko Ananian's record of 32 minutes, 52.5 seconds. I'm going to close now by giving you the opportunity to enrich not only your life, but Coach Perkins. I'm going to ask you, when you leave and go in the lobby, to pick out one of his address slips that we've provided for you. I'm going to ask you to put pen to paper and write him and tell him what a wonderful contribution he has made to the town of Watertown. Originally, I planned to fly to Florida tomorrow to hand him this plaque. But then I thought about it. I said I knew that when I got there, he was going to show me a handful of letters that he has received from his admirers. And I have had the opportunity to read two of them, and I'll tell you, they were beautiful, and you could tell that the authors wrote these letters from their heart. But I postponed my flight for 10 days because when I get down there, I don't want to see a handful of letters. I want to see a barrel full of letters, because this man deserves it. Now, I know many of you this evening have discovered for the first time this Watertown treasure. But his value is not that he was a great track coach. It's not that he had this fantastic record of 9 straight championships. The value of this man is that he was the consummate, the quintessential role model. He was talented. He had a gentleman bearing and manner about him. He was selfless, and he devoted his life to his athletes all out. Trust me when I say that a kind word from you will bolster this wonderful 89-year-old man's spirit more than any medicine concocted by man. And remember, when you write to this man, that he's not only a living legend, but I think he's the oldest living member